Therwan Saranai Swamin Wahanse, Avasarai. Welcome everyone to the session. We will be starting the session, and it's same procedure will take place that you can ask the questions during the question times, and you can type the questions or you can ask the questions. Please make sure that we switch off the microphones when the monk is doing the sermon, and question time we can unmute and ask the questions. It's really good we ask the questions because it's not only helping you, it will help everyone with when the answers are given. It may also link to you as well, so it's really good if we can ask the questions. So, hope you will have a good session. Therwan Saranai Swamin Wahanse, I would like to invite you to begin the session. Therwan
Saranai, everyone. So, welcome to the Arya meditation session, which we have been having once a month, and we have come from Metta meditation to Asubha meditation, and again Buddha Anusati, and we are going to have a little bit of discussion at the beginning. This is also about a part of or a wing. We can say it is a version of Asubha meditation that we are going to discuss today, and then we will be using what we have already discussed during the meditation session, and also we will be having a question and answer session at the end of this meditation session. So initially it would be the discussion and then the meditation session, and at last there would be a Q&A session. So before starting before going straight away to the Kammatthana, so I would like to give you a background or make the background for the Karmasthana. So this Karmasthana is focusing on the 5 aggregates. You might have heard about the 5 aggregates, or you might never heard about it. So 5 aggregates is a method of classifying this world. So there are various classifications. We classify something based on our need. So if it is about science, if it is about beings, then we would classify those according to animals, plants, and then animals goes into mammals and vertebrates, non-vertebrates. Likewise, there are classifications. These classifications are based on the need, and the classification should fulfill the need. So this is also a classification, and this classification is used to see the anicca, dukkha, and anatta nature. Because if we could see the anicca, dukkha, and anatta nature as a whole, or if we can apply it to the whole world, then it would be easier to see that there's not a single part is omitted from these characteristics, from the anicca characteristic, dukkha characteristic, and anatta characteristic. So if you have been listening to other Dhamma discussions, the meaning of anicca, dukkha, and anatta might be different from what we discuss here, but try to see it with wisdom, whether this anicca, the meaning which is given here, whether it helps more to see the reality or to get rid of the suffering, dukkha and anatta as well. So 5 aggregates. It is it has 5 components: rupa, vedana, sanya, Sankara, and Vijnana. So Rupa is actually usually it is said as perception when it is translated to English by others, but I think pattern is better. Pattern is better than perception. When we are giving a meaning to the word Rupa, pattern seems to be
근데 이게 스님
aligned.
설계
So
겉에 들어가고 보내줘서 지금 라이브로
there's a
하고
mic that needs to be muted. I think we could.
무슨 말인지 모르겠어. 큰일 났다. 영어로 하네.
1월 3일 2시 반, 1월 8일 2시.
We can hear you. Sorry,
Okay.
can we please switch off the microphones?
Okay, thank you. So, so when we are going for Rupa, the better word is pattern. I'll emphasize on that. Pattern. So there are 6 Rupas: Rupa Rupa, Saddha Rupa, Gandha Rupa, Rasa Rupa, Pottabha Rupa, and Mano Rupa. So if I translate that into English, image patterns, sound patterns, then there are smell patterns, then there's taste patterns, touch patterns, and then thought patterns. Those are patterns because we differentiate one taste from another because the pattern is different. What is the pattern? We put salt, we put sugar, and we put various kinds of different things together in a different proportion. So we taste that differently than the other curry or other food item which has a different proportion. So we differentiate these things based on pattern. Image is also like that. There are when the colors are combined in different patterns, we see people. When it is combined in a different pattern, we see trees. This is what happens when we see paintings. This is what happens when we see various images, whether it's 2D images or 3D images. So it is the same for sounds. So there's this combination of sound instruments, musical instruments. The drum comes, then the violin, then the organ. When the patterns of these different musical instruments are combined together with vocals, then we can hear a song. But that song is different from another song because the combination of sounds is different in that song to the first one. So I think you get the pattern, you get the idea here. So Rupa is a pattern. Then what is Vedana? Vedana, simply when we translate it into English, the simple meaning is feeling. Feeling means it could be blissful feeling, it could be neutral feeling, it could be suffering feeling. These are the 3 feelings that we can feel based on touch. Now, how do we get this feeling? When images and our eye touches together, then the chakku vijnana is formed, or a mental or a consciousness about seeing is formed. Now that has a vedana component in it, or feeling. It could be neutral feeling. You just see something and you have nothing special about it. Then there could be someone or something beautiful or blissful, then it would give a blissful feeling. And if it is something, or if it is your enemy, if it is something you don't like to see, then it would be a suffering feeling. So it is the same for the other items as well. When the ears touches sound, then it forms a sota vijnana, or a consciousness about hearing, and that also have a vedana component in it. It is the same for smell, taste, touch, and also the last one, mind. Mind and thoughts, when they combine together, it forms a mano vijnana, consciousness about thinking. And this also has a vedana part in it, or a feeling which could be blissful, which could be neutral, which could be suffering. So that is Vedana. Now we have sorted out 2 of the 5. And the third one is Sanya. Sanya is, now perception can be applied here better than at Rupa, because this is how we perceive that pattern, this image pattern. When we get conscious about it based on the past data, so let's say we have never seen a cup in our life, not a single cup in our life. So we are seeing the cup for the first time. So if we are seeing a cup for the first time, then our mind would not be able to recognize what it is. We would try to express it to somebody else based on the data we have in our system. We would say it is white, it is round, and it seems to be hard. When you tap it, it gives a clicky sound. And that is all I understand about this object. I don't know the name, but it seems to be something that can hold water, would be your explanation. Those explanations also were given based on what you had in your system. You knew what is white, you knew what is hard. Those are also data which is in your system. So based on this data, you give items your perspective or your understanding about that object. That is called sanya. So when you see an object, let's say it's a tree. So when you see a tree, what happens? Eyes and the image meets together, creating a consciousness about seeing, and the Vedana would be neutral if it is not some valuable tree, or if it is not your tree, or the tree that you love the most. If it is not that kind of a tree, the Vedana would be neutral, and you would understand that it is a tree based on sanya. Sanya means based on past data, and we can say the simple meaning of sanya is signs. You get the sign, so you understand it is a tree. So that is sanya. So it is the same for the other components as well. If it is a sound, you would know that it is a sound of a bird because you have heard bird sounds before, and you would be able to pinpoint the exact name and the exact species of the bird if you have that data in your system. So it is a sign that you understand. So it's the sign called sanya. Now we know rupa, now we know vedana, and now we know sanya. And then the next component is sankara. Sankara is actually the actions, thoughts, and words that are being created. So sankara, if we translate it into English, it gives the meaning creation. What do we create? We create thoughts, we create words, or we talk, and we act using our body. So these are the 3 actions or 3 things that we do. And based on images, now this sankara has various levels when you try to understand it. This is the basic level: hearing or talking, acting, and thinking. This is a basic rough level, but you can go deeper. What about what happens when an image hits your eyes, creating a consciousness about seeing, and creating vedana, creating sanya? Now, all this to be created, you need to create it in your mind. Now, that creation part is also falling under sankara. If you do not create it in your mind, now image is there in the outside world. Eyes are just lying there in the head. in the eye sockets of your head. So when this light rays are coming to your eye, you have to create something in your mind. That creation part is called Rupa Sanchetana. Chetana means, if I go to the etymology of the word, Chitta Tana. Chitta means mind, Tana means creation. So you create the mind. Rupa Sanchetana. You create the mind by combining things in the using this light, or we can say dots of light. Dots of light are combined together in your mind, creating a chitta, that is chetana, rupa sanchetana. Then there are sabda sanchetana, gandha sanchetana, rasa sanchetana, pottabha sanchetana, and mano sanchetana. So that is the fine level of sankara. So this sankara has the both components. So the sanya also goes deeper like that, because you have to have this idea that you are when it is about rupa, you have to know that initially the sanya, or the sign that you are seeing, should come to your mind. The sign which says that you are seeing something. If you have to have seen something before, otherwise you would not be able to have that as well, because you have seen things, you get the sign. That is the finest level of it. You get the sign that you are seeing something. Then based on that, you would go for, what is that I am seeing? You'd search through your directory of data and find something that is relevant, that makes the match, and you'd say it looks like a tree, but this is not the ideal tree that I have seen, but it looks like a tree that you have drawn in the picture. Looks like a tree, but I am not sure. So you match with what you have, and when the data is like 60 to 70% matches with the object, then you would go for that. So that is sanya. Then again, now what we discussed right now is sankara. So what is vinyana? Vinyana is the consciousness about seeing, hearing, and there's the smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. There's the fifth part. Now, apart from these five components, this classification is actually done based on the mind, not the external world, but all the external things goes through your mind to be real. Otherwise, we don't care whether it's there. We would not be able to understand it is there. Let's say your eyes are gone, or you are blind. You cannot hear anything. You are deaf, and you cannot feel any tactile or touch, and you cannot feel any taste, and you cannot feel any smell. So however much things are there in the world, in the outside world, how much, it doesn't matter how beautiful they are, how marvelous they are, you cannot understand, you cannot know that those kinds of things persist in this world. If all the people are like that, then nobody will be able to know anything about this world. So actually world come into existence because of our mind, deciphers this data, or combines these data, or processes this data, and give us a picture of what is in the outside world. So it is a very what do you call very good classification, in the sense to see the suffering in the world. So there's nothing else in this world that does not fills into this classification. So rupa, vedana, sanya, sankara, and vinyana. You have to see from a point of mind, not from the external materialistic world. So if you see from a point of, from this mind point of view, then you would be able to understand that it completes the world. So Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. So now the Karmasthana, which we are going to understand today is, I'll go through the Karmasthana. I translated it into English, and then we'll go through it. So I translated the whole Sinhala Karmasthana into English. So you have to go through the meaning to understand it. So I'll just recite it first. Lump of form is essenceless. Rupa is essenceless. Water bubble is essenceless. Vedana is essenceless. Mirage is essenceless. Sanya is essenceless. Plant and trunk is essenceless. Sankhara is essenceless. Illusion is essenceless. Vijnana is essenceless. Nibbana is full of essence. Nibbana be attained. Nibbana is full of essence. May Nibbana be attained. Nibbana is full of essence. May Nibbana be attained. So that is the Karmasthana. So this is the full translation of Karmasthana, which was given by Waharaka Temple. So the first one, why is it called a lump of form? Form, if you have seen form, now form is tiny bubbles coming together, showing and when you see it as a whole, you see a big white substance floating on water. That is form. Now, if you get some of that foam and if you crush it, there's nothing. They were just tiny bubbles of air bubbles that were coming together to show this illusion of something is there. So it is the same thing that happens with patterns or rupa. What happens with rupa? Rupa are actually dots of colors. When it comes to image patterns, they are dots of colors. When it comes to sound patterns, they are dots of tones or collection of tones, various frequencies coming together. And when it comes to smell, they are a combination of particles that are put together. It can be natural, it can be artificial. Whether it's natural or artificial, there are various chemical components coming together. So the fourth one, taste. So it is also a combination of things. You put salt, you put pepper, you put other spices, and you heat it and you get it to the correct temperature and you have a taste. What if you take the things differently and taste? Now that is not that delicious. So it is actually a combination of things. But if you get those things individually, you don't find any value. So this is to see that anicca, dukkha and anatta nature. To reduce the value, to understand that this value that you give to rupa or patterns is something which is created in your mind, but something that is not real in the outside world. So it is the same for touch as well. When it comes to touch, you have to have the correct temperature to have a good touch. You have to have the correct texture. So otherwise, there would not be a good touch or a blissful touch. So it is actually a combination of small touches. A fraction of touch gives a fraction of Vedana. So fraction of touch is what we receive, what we can experience in a moment. So it is the same for thoughts. Thoughts also come in fractions. And various fractions, when they combine together, it gives a full picture. You would not be able to think whether it is good or whether it is bad or whether it is neutral from a fraction of thought. You have to think at least for several seconds. Combine those thoughts together and feel the illusional blissfulness or illusional sadness or neutral nature. So this is what patterns do. So we'll explain one, and then you would be able to understand the rest. We'll go for Rupa. So when you see this gold or gold, let's say a motor car or a sports car is seen as blissful. When you see the picture, if you are a sports car fan, or if you are a fan of clothes, fashion, then it could be clothes. So let's say it's clothes. So when you see a cloth or when you see an outfit hanging on in a supermarket or a fashion show or whatever, so when you see that, what you see is actually a combination or a shape that comes to life because dots are or fractions of colors are compiled together in such a way that it gives a appealing um, taste to your mind. But if you divide it and see where is this appealing component or the valuable component, if you try to divide and find the valuable component, then you would not be able to find it. I'll give a normal example. You get a container and fill it with sand and put a rod of gold into that, or a bar of gold into the sand pot, and you label it $100,000, and you get a normal you get another jar and you fill it with sand and you put a label $1, and you present this to a person. And if this person wants to know why the other jar values so much, $10,000, he has to go through it and remove the sand cup by cup and find the valuable piece which was hidden, which is the rod of gold. Now when that person sees the rod of gold, he can understand, yes, this jar was this much expensive because there was a gold rod inside that jar. Now that can be justified. This is a normal example to make you understand about the Lokotara example or the extra mundane example or supramundane example. So so in the other, when you go through the other jar, you understand that it is not, there's no value because there's nothing valuable hidden in that. So likewise, what you do is you have to divide and see whether there's this valuable component. Actually, whether there's a valuable component hidden in these images that you find very valuable. Then you would see that it is actually a illusion that creates this value when things come together. So, for example, we have discussed this during the last session as well. So, with the karmasthana kesa loma naka danta tacho. So, we divide our body to its gross components, and we try to see what is the valuable component which was hidden that we did not see, which is so valuable, so valuable, and that might be why we are giving so much value to this body, but we could not find that body part which is that valuable. But it is an illusional a mental construct that is created when all the gross components come together. And these components, when you take individually, hair, no value. Skin, no, zero value. Lungs, heart, zero value. You don't even eat human flesh. So no value in that aspect as well. So this is a technique that we use. Why do we want to get rid of this value? Because it creates problems. When there's value, you get attached. When you get attached, that is the reason for suffering. This word is anicca. You cannot control it according to expectation. When something cannot be controlled according to expectation and that item is valuable, you get this urge that somehow you have to control it, because your expectation is to own it, save it, and keep it for yourself. But the world works in a different way. You cannot control it according to expectation. Your expectation is to keep it, own it, and save it for yourself. But it deteriorates, it gets stolen, it gets broken. 1,001 things can happen to it. And when that happens, suffering is inevitable. So you have to understand this. We get rid of this value because we have a higher purpose. Because the value, giving value is avidya. So to get rid of this value, you have to see through, or see with wisdom, that we have actually given value to something that there's no value. So again, anicca cannot be controlled according to expectation. Dukkha, because of that, when you try to attach to those things create suffering. So it has the suffering characteristic in them. Whatever the thing, it can be a bin of garbage, but still if you get attached to it, it has that suffering characteristic in that. Because when as soon as the link of attachment is created, that is the reason for suffering, which has been created. Let's say there's this biogas, or gas which is created out of garbage, or what do we call organic waste, goes it becomes very valuable in an era, and people are doing making a fortune out of garbage or organic waste, because the demand has gone high up. So if that is the case, then some of the things that you value the most would become the organic waste. So you would like to have the organic waste, and you would lock it up, you would protect it, and you would try to do whatever the thing that is possible to protect this organic waste. Because if it is valuable, then regardless of what the thing is, whether right now, whether it is about garbage or whether it is about a bar of gold, it's the same thing that happens to both when you get attached, when you give value. It is actually not the suffering is not embedded in that bar of gold. It is something we create in our minds because we give value, because of our delusional ideas or ideologies. So to get rid of pain and suffering, what we do is we get rid of this ideology, wrong vision or ignorance. In one word, if we say avidya is ignorance ignorance about reality. So when you get rid of that, then you become free of suffering. So you have seen anicca, you have seen dukkha, and what is anatta? Anatta is the essenceless nature. So if the story is like this, when you get attached, if it creates suffering, then that is not what you expect. That is not something essential. The other thing is, these things deteriorate. These things end up dead. Everything end up getting destroyed. It day by day, minute by minute, they deteriorate until that is of no use. So we can say the impermanent nature. So when you attach to something which is impermanent or deteriorates little by little, then since you cannot maintain it, so your aim was to own it, keep it to yourself, and maintain it. But maintenance is not possible, because second by second it deteriorates. Keeping it is not possible because it gets destroyed at the end. So you have already started a war that you cannot win. You would anyway lose, and at the losing point, or when you lose through a period of time, it creates a suffering mindset. That is also a point that we can emphasize when we are saying that this world is essenceless or pointless. So we are seeing in this pattern to get rid of the suffering and to get rid of the samsaric suffering as a whole. So now we are going back to the karmastan. What is rupa? Patterns. So these patterns: image patterns, sound patterns, smell patterns, taste patterns, touch patterns, and thought patterns. Those are all of them are like a lump of form. So there's no value in a lump of form. So that is essenceless. So then we go for the next one. Vedana. Vedana is felt. Now I've had to go through this example. It says that it is like a water bubble. What is the nature of a water bubble? Now, it is not a single water bubble. So when there's water falling from a higher ground to a lower ground at a waterbed, the waterbed is disturbed, and we can see a beautiful pattern of water bubbles forming and breaking. And this we can look at that for a certain time, certain amount of time, because that seems very fascinating. That seems very elegant, and it is a very beautiful scenery that we can see in the nature. So when the water, that's why people create these waterfalls inside their houses as well, in their gardens sometimes as well. So water, when the waterbed or the water surface is disturbed with the falling water from high above, it creates a pattern of water bubbles. But if you are looking at one single water bubble, what happens? It is created and it breaks. Then the next one is created and moves a little distance and it breaks. And when this happens, and when hundreds of these bubbles are created at different phases of its journey, you see a very beautiful scenery. Likewise, when touch happens, it is the same phenomenon. How does Vedana occurs? Vedana occurs because of touch. What is touch? When eyes and images meet, that is touch. When sound and ears meet, that is touch. When smells and then the nose meets on the nerves of the nasal bed meets, that is touch. So it goes on. And when touch occurs, fraction of touch creates a fraction of Vedana. So I'll give you an example. So if somebody strokes your hand with their hand, somebody strokes your hand with that person's hand. So when you see, this fraction of touch creates a fraction of Vedana, and as soon as it is created, it's end up in Jara Marana, or it deteriorates, and it is no more there. It gets destroyed, leaving room for another touch to be created. So otherwise, if that If that Vedana was not deleted, then you would not be able to feel another Vedana. But it get deleted as soon as it gets created, because your hand is no more there. Your hand moves down along the other person's arm. So at one point, when it is touched, you see the Vedana, but as soon as the hand goes downwards, the Vedana which was created at that point, at the original point, get destroyed or deleted, and the next touch creates a next fraction of Vedana, and it also get deleted, and this continues. So when this kind of a thing happens in a very high speed, you feel like you are experiencing one single Vedana, one single blissful stroke, but it is actually a combination of tiny fractions of touch, creating tiny fractions of Vedana, which is compiled together in your brain and giving out an illusional blissful sensation. So that is why it is compared to a water bubble. It is the same for sound. It is the same for images. Images are dots of colors. Now you cannot have this Vedana or you cannot find value in a single dot of color. You have to have these Vedana touches of these dots, and you compile it in your mind, and then you see a beautiful picture. The beautiful nature of this picture was generated because all the Vedana were created together and seen as one. It is the same for sounds as well. If you hear only two seconds of this of a song, you are just listening to only 2 seconds of a song. So you'd not be able to feel attached to that song because you only listen to only 2 seconds. But when you increase the number of seconds, you listen 10 seconds, 30 seconds, then what you do is you get these fractions of Vedana together, compile it together, and you create an illusional blissfulness in your mind. But what you hear is what you are actually able to hear is actually a fraction. The other thing is done in your mind. So it is not that the song is beautiful, it is that your mind is playing tricks with you so that you find that outside sound beautiful. So when you the problem with that is, again, it creates suffering. We want to get rid of suffering, that's why we see the reality. So again, now Vedana is compared to a water bubble. I think you understand what it means. So the sanya, signs are actually based on past data which was created out of avidya. So you created things out of avidya, that these are good, these are nice, and that same signs or same data comes to you explaining the current perceptions. When you see images, it is being described with data you already have, data that are not correct because they were made of avidya. So you see what do you call it is like a mirage, something that it is something like there you see a blissfulness in that data. When it is interpreted, what is coming out of these 5 senses are interpreted in your mind. You use the data which are wrong, and this data gives a sense of value, sense of blissfulness. But it is like when you see at a faraway distance in a desert, when you see water, that is not real water, that is a mirage. So there's no water in the mirage, but you go towards that. You try to achieve your goal, which is quenching your thirst by going towards the mirage, but you are not able to do that. So think this sanya or signs which you already have as a mirage, because you have gone through, gone after these things that your mind says that it is valuable and it is blissful, but they never able, they were never able to, they have been never, those things have not able to really treat your vexations. That's why you are still dependent on them. You have to depend on them. Otherwise, if actually they can get rid of your vexations, then only you would be using that only once, and that vexation would be treated, and you would not want that anymore. But it is not the case. You would have to go after this mirage as long as you see the mirage, as long as you are thirsty. When you don't, when you are not thirsty anymore, because you have drank the essence of Dhamma, or the knowledge of Dhamma, and knowledge of Dhamma quenches your thirst, or you have seen the reality, you are not no more thirsty, but you see mirages in the surrounding, but you don't want to go after them. You want to pursue after these mirages because you don't feel thirsty anymore. So that is what we are going to do. We are going to get rid of this thirst. We are going to get rid of this vexation, so that we would see the mirages everywhere. We would be using these signs, because otherwise we would not be able to do anything. We would have to see the road. We would have to know what to wear, where to go when we need to do something. Those things, those data should be used. Those are mirages. But when we are not thirsty anymore, we would not be going after with a hopeless um, or a delusional hope that there's blissfulness. We would be using them to get our things done. That is the scope that we would go when we are using signs or sanya. And the sankara, whatever we have created so far as people, we were never been able to create something that lasts. All the things that we have created, including humans that we might have created, they end up dead. Everything, physical, living, non-living, everything end up dead. So we create these things that we find dear, we find valuable, but in the end, they deteriorate. In the end means right now they are deteriorating. So you are deteriorating right now. You only can see it with your wisdom, not with your eyes. You would say, no, I am perfectly fine right now. But second by second, you are deteriorating towards your death. So if you touch yourself right now and touch your hand again, then it is not the same person anymore. You are older. So you are deteriorating. So what you are creating, thinking that you can create, you can have something to yourself, you can maintain it by yourself, you have to, because you find it valuable, you are attached to it, then you are not doing something something that is possible. You are doing something that creates suffering. So you have to see this with wisdom. So it is like a plant and tree, or plant and trunk. What is, I don't know whether you have seen plant and trunks, but it has cases of what do you call this? There's no, now the story is, if somebody wants to find a good straight piece of wood to maybe to use for a roof or something, then this person goes to the jungle and finds a plant and trunk and thinks that this is a very clean, this is a very straight trunk, I might be able to get a good good trunk, a good piece of wood out of this. But in reality, there's no hard wood inside a plantain trunk. So the person, what he's doing is actually not very wise. He's doing something that gives a negative or a disappointing result, because however much you try to find a trunk or a hard wood inside a plantain trunk, there's nothing. So something similar is done by us when we are doing sankhara. Thoughts, actions, and words are being created out of this idea that we can find something valuable in this world, or we can create something valuable in this world. But everything that is being created gets deteriorated and ends up in Jara Marana. So that is the nature. And in the other hand, you cannot control it according to your expectation. Your expectation is to control these valuable things according to your wanting, but you cannot do that. It has its own agenda, or nature has its own principles and ways of dealing with objects. So it is, the things are happening according to that. When the causes are aligning, effects would occur. Your expectation is not one of the effects that would change that, not one of the causes that would change that effect. So Sankara is seen as a banana trunk. And the last one, which is Vijnana. Vijnana is the consciousness. Now, the consciousness is actually a combination of Vedana, Sanya, and Sankara. Everything comes together, and you are conscious. The conscious part is a different part, but you are conscious about the feeling, you're conscious about the Sankara, you're conscious about the Sanya, or consciousness. When you take it, separate it from the other three, it is one single component, yes, but it is the consciousness about the other things in the five aggregates. Consciousness about the pattern, consciousness about the Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, and Vinyana, Sankara. So you have a consciousness about consciousness as well. So this consciousness is also actually like an illusion, because all the things started with an illusion. So consciousness also, since it is based on these patterns, or Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, it is also, it creates the grand illusion. It creates the biggest illusion that I am seeing a beautiful picture, is your consciousness. But in reality, it is a magic shown by a magician. It is not real. Something else is there. But you are seeing a beautiful pigeon being taken out from nowhere, out of thin air. The magician creates a rabbit or a pigeon, and we get amazed, we get attached, we think, wow, this is very nice, and this person is really able to do some extraordinary things. But in reality, if we have seen the reality, then we would not get impressed. We would know that this person has already been hiding this pigeon all along all along this time in his coat or somewhere. So it is not that impressive. So when you understand that way, that consciousness is also, or the vijnana is also like that. Vijnana, vijnana is created with dots, and when the touch is coming, it is also come in fractions. And when these all things are compiled together, you get a consciousness about seeing a beautiful picture. But the consciousness itself, the data which is coming and the processing, everything is a deceiving mechanism. Deceiving, we say that it is deceiving because it creates a suffering journey. That is the reason. So now, then what is the blissful thing? Now, we are not saying that all the world is essenceless, so we have nothing to do about it. So be with it. Goodbye is not the philosophy, or it is not the understanding. We have a solution, that is Nibbana. Nibbana is full of essence, because when you get rid of this attachment forever, you are still there leading a life with zero suffering mentally. But again, you'd have the physical suffering until this life ends. But the sansaric journey, since it comes to a halt at the end, that also would be temporary. So you would be experiencing the pain or the suffering of thirst, and suffering of the hunger and cold, warmth, and everything would be felt. And you would be able to do something about it without having the mental component or mental suffering component along with it. Otherwise, what happens is, when you are thirsty, you feel, oh, will I be able to have some water? There's no water in this desert. Will I die? And a big component of it is mental. In fact, you are just feeling a small thirst. This would increase along the way if you didn't find water, but it would end maybe at your death. But that is the end of everything, every suffering, when you have attained Nibbana. Otherwise, you would be having a big component of mental suffering, along with the small thirst, the uncomfortable nature which is created by a little bit of thirst. You would be crying, you would be frightened, you would be doing all sorts of things to get some water. So that would be gone. So you would be living the best life you can while you are in this life, and this life would end, and all the suffering would end along with it, and the physical suffering as well. So that is Nibbana, and that is not suffering. So what do we do with these karmasthanis? We are going to lower the value that we give to this world. We take inputs using eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. So we are applying this theory at all points and reducing the value that we give to this world. And when the value is reduced, the attachment is reduced. When the attachment is reduced, we don't get this urge to control them, which is uncontrollable in a sense that we cannot have control in it according to expectation. It is controlled according to causes and effects. When the causes align, effects are being created. Otherwise, the effect is not created. So however much we expect does not add up to the effect. So the thing what we are doing without knowing this is painful and suffering. So when we understand this, attachment would be reduced. When the amount of attachment is reduced, the amount of suffering, struggling, everything would reduce. When the struggling is reducing, that is peaceful, that is blissful. When the suffering is reduced, that is peaceful, that is blissful. And that is when these things we find valuable gets deteriorated, and that is a fact that it get deteriorated and destroyed, get deleted or destroyed at the end, that is also not a problem, because we don't care when the garbage bin was stolen, garbage bin was taken away, or deteriorated and could not be used anymore. We don't care. Likewise, when the attachment is gone, the similar thing would happen to the things that we find valuable. So that is full of essence. So may Nibbana be attained. That is our goal, and that is what we are trying to achieve. So that is the karmasthana we are going to recite today, and it has already been 1 hour since we have started. So I think if there's any question regarding the karmasthana, we can quickly go through it and sort it out. Otherwise, we will start with the meditation, because you have already created a level of samadhi. while listening to this, and I don't want to interrupt that samadhi, so we can straight away get to the samadhi level with the already created samadhi. And I will kindly remind you to mute your mics, otherwise the others can get disrupted, and that could be a problem, and because it would harm a lot when you are meditating. I think there's one mic that has not been muted yet. If you could mute the mic, that would be better. Okay. Now, so seems like there's no questions. Again, the mic is not muted. If you could mute it, that would be helpful. Mr. Song Han Kim, I think his mic is not muted. Okay, now it's muted. Okay, thank you. So, so then we'll start the meditation session, and just relax your mind, relax your body, and be in a comfortable posture, because it will take if you are in an uncomfortable posture, you would not it would be affecting your meditation in a bad way. So be in a comfortable posture, close or half close your eyes, whichever you prefer, and try to find a calm and peaceful background environment if you can, and calm your minds. Take a deep breath, few deep breaths, and try to relax your mind and body. Now focus on the gaseous quality of the gas or air. We are not trying to focus on respiration or inspiration or expiration. We are just trying to focus on the gas column that is going up and going down through our nasal passage. We are not trying to focus on the places that it hits our body or nose or tip of the nose or tip of the upper lip. We are just trying to focus on the quality of the air that we breathe, because it is not attached to anything. It is free. It just obeys the nature, and there's no conflict. It just moves freely depending on the pressure gradient. Not like solid nature, not like sticky nature, or which is apo nature, not like tejo nature. Vayo nature seems to be very relaxed. See, when we are attached to something, our mind becomes solid. It is like a solid object. Solid object does not like to move, like to stick onto where it is. We have to use force to change its position because it is attached, linked on to the underlying surface. Just like that, when our mind is attached, it is very hard to get rid of that. Creates suffering, creates pain when the attachments are taken away, when detached with force. But that happens. That is inevitable. That is the nature of this world. Things go wrong. We cannot have things according to our wanting. We want something, but something else happens. When something we like happens, we are happy. But that happiness itself becomes the trap. See this with wisdom. Be like gas, be like air, not attached. We are just obeying the natural order. That would happen automatically when you are not attached. Now focus on the quality of air with this understanding. When you try to do this, your mind starts wandering here and there. When your mind is touched by thoughts, you are conscious about thinking, your consciousness about thinking emanates, and you start thinking in that direction if it is interesting. If it is not interesting, you would not do that. So use the vipassana and try to see through what you find interesting. Is it really interesting to think? Isn't it anicca, dukkha, and anatta? Isolate the topic or the main theme that you thought of and see it as anicca, dukkha, anatta, so that the value would reduce, and when the value is reduced, you would no longer go after that thought, making a train of thoughts, because that act itself is tiring. Don't feel it because it is interesting. When the interest is gone, you would feel that thinking is also tiring. Now you feel peaceful, calm, and relaxed because your bodily actions have come to a halt. You are no longer talking as well. So think the calm and quiet, relaxed nature you have achieved by getting rid of bodily actions and words or talking. If you could get rid of this vitakka vichara or thinking in your head in various directions about various things, if that also can be eliminated, then think about the peace, about the relaxation you might experience. To do that, there's only one way. When various thoughts come to your mind and you start thinking in that direction, as soon as you become aware of that, try to do vipassana. try to see that as anicca, dukkha, anatta. Then you would see their senseless nature, and you would no longer be able to think in that direction without seeing the burden of thinking. So you would stop. Just like you don't like thinking about addition, multiplication, and other mathematical operations, because thinking is tiring. If you are a person who likes mathematics, then you would do it without even knowing. You would like that. The burden would be hidden, because when you like something, even the physical burden also gets hidden. What is there to talk about the mental burden? we will recite the 9 great qualities of Supreme Buddha. These are recited in Pali, which is an emotional language. You can focus on the sound, and if you know the meanings of these words, you can focus on the meaning as well. Namo means I am aligning, and I would be applying Namo in front of all the qualities, and by that we are aligning the 9 qualities that eliminate this samsaric suffering. Namo Arahang, Namo Samma Sambuddho, Namo Vidyacharana Sampanno, Namo Sugato, Namo Lokavidu, Namo Anuttaro Purisa Dhamma Sarati, Namo Sattha Deva Manussanang, Namo Buddho, Namo Bhagava, Namo Arahang, Namo Samma Sambuddho, Namo Vidyacharana Sampanno, Namo Sugato, Namo Lokavidu, Namo Anuttaro Purisa Dhamma Sarati, Namo Sattha Deva Manussanang, Namo Buddho, Namo Bhagava, Namo Arahang, Namo Samma Sambuddho, Namo Vidyacharana Sampanno, Namo Sugato, Namo Lokavidu, Namo Anuttaro Purisa Dhamma Sarati, Namo Sattha Deva Manussanang, Namo Buddho, Namo Bhagava, Namo Arahang, Namo Samma Sambuddho, Namo Vidyacharana Sampanno, Namo Sugato, Namo Lokavidu, Namo Anuttaro Purisa Dhamma Sarati, Namo Sattha Deva Manussanang, Namo Buddho, Namo Bhagava, Namo Arahang, Namo Samma Sambuddho, Namo Vijjācarana Sampanno Namo Sugato Namo Lokavidu Namo Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarati Namo Sattha Deva Manussanang Namo Buddho Namo Bhagava Namo Arahang Namo Samma Sambuddho Namo Vijjācarana Sampanno Namo Sugato Namo Lokavidu Namo Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarati Namo Sattha Deva Manussanang Namo Buddho Namo Bhagava Namo Arahang Namo Samma Sambuddho Namo Vijjācarana Sampanno Namo Sugato Namo Lokavidu Namo Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarati Namo Sattha Deva Manussanang Namo Buddho Namo Bhagava Namo Arahang Namo Samma Sambuddho Namo Vijjācarana Sampanno Namo Sugato Namo Lokavidu Namo Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarati Namo Sattha Deva Manussanang Namo Buddho Namo Bhagava Namo Arahang Namo Samma Sambuddho Namo Vijjācarana Sampanno Namo Sugato Namo Lokavidu Namo Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarati Namo Sattha Deva Manussanang Namo Buddho Namo Bhagava Namo Arahang Namo Samma Sambuddho Namo Vijjācarana Sampanno Namo Sugato Namo Lokavidu Namo Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarati Namo Sattha Deva Manussanang Namo Buddho. Namo Bhagava. Namo Bhagava. Namo Buddho. Namo Vijjacharana Sampanno. Namo Sattha Deva Manussanam. Namo Anuttaro Purisa Dhamma Sarati. Namo Lokavidu. Namo Sugato. Namo Samma Sambuddho. Namo Arahang. Now let us spread infinite metta to all the sentient beings in the universe. Focus on all the sentient beings in front of us. Focus on all the sentient beings on the either side of the front. Focus on all the sentient beings on the right side of us. Focus on all the sentient beings on the either side of the right. Focus on all the sentient beings behind us. Focus on all the sentient beings on the either side of the back. Focus on all the sentient beings on the left side. Focus on all the sentient beings on the either side of the left. Focus on all the sentient beings below us. Focus on all the sentient beings above us. Focus on all the sentient beings, including myself. All the sentient beings, including myself, may get freed from the sansaric suffering, may get freed from the disease of samsara, may get freed from the fear of samsara, may get freed from the flames of samsara, may get freed from the burning samsara, may get freed from the sorrowful samsara, may get freed from the sansaric raga, may get freed from the bonds of samsara, may get freed from the ocean of samsara, may get freed from the desert of samsara, may get freed from the darkness of samsara. All the sentient beings, including myself, may attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. All the sentient beings, including myself, may attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. All the sentient beings, including myself, may attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Focus on all the sentient beings in front. Focus on all the sentient beings on the either side of the front. Focus on all the sentient beings on the right. Focus on all the sentient beings on the either side of the right. Focus on all the sentient beings on the back. Focus on all the sentient beings on the either side of the back. Focus on all the sentient beings on the left. Focus on all the sentient beings on the either side of the left. Focus on all the sentient beings below. Focus on all the sentient beings above. Focus on all the sentient beings, including myself. All the sentient beings, including myself, may get freed from the sansaric suffering, may get freed from the disease of samsara, may get freed from the fear of samsara, may get freed from the flames of samsara, may get freed from the burning samsara, may get freed from the sorrowful samsara, may get freed from the sansaric raga, may get freed from the bonds of samsara, may get freed from the ocean of samsara, may get freed from the desert of samsara, may get freed from the darkness of samsara. All the sentient beings, including myself, may attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. All the sentient beings, including myself, may attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. All the sentient beings, including myself, may attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Focus on all the sentient beings in front. Focus on all the sentient beings on the either side of the front. Focus on all the sentient beings on the right. Focus on all the sentient beings on the either side of the right. Focus on all the sentient beings behind. Focus on all the sentient beings on the either side of the back. Focus on all the sentient beings on the left side. Focus on all the sentient beings on the either side of the left. Focus on all the sentient beings below. Focus on all the sentient beings above. All the sentient beings, including myself, may get freed from the samsaric suffering, may get freed from the disease of samsara, may get freed from the fear of samsara, may get freed from the flames of samsara, may get freed from the burning samsara, may get freed from the sorrowful samsara, may get freed from the sansaric raga, may get freed from the bonds of samsara, may get freed from the ocean of samsara, may get freed from the desert of samsara, may get freed from the darkness of samsara. All the sentient beings, including myself, may attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. All the sentient beings, including myself, may attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. All the sentient beings, including myself, may attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Lump of form is senseless. Rupa is senseless. Water bubble is senseless. Vedana is senseless. Mirage is senseless. Sanya is senseless. Plantain trunk is senseless. Sankhara is senseless. Illusion is senseless. Vijnana is senseless. Nibbana is full of essence. May Nibbana be attained. Nibbana is full of essence. May Nibbana be attained. Nibbana is full of essence. May Nibbana be attained. Lump of form is essenceless. Rupa is essenceless. Water bubble is essenceless. Vedana is essenceless. Mirage is essenceless. Sanya is essenceless. Plantain trunk is essenceless. Sankhara is essenceless. Illusion is essenceless. Vijnana is essenceless. Nibbana is full of essence. May Nibbana be attained. Nibbana is full of essence. May Nibbana be attained. Nibbana is full of essence. May Nibbana be attained. Lump of form is essenceless. Rupa is essenceless. Water bubble is essenceless. Vedana is essenceless. Mirage is essenceless. Sanya is essenceless. Plant and trunk is essenceless. Sankhara is essenceless. Illusion is essenceless. Vijnana is essenceless. Nibbana is full of essence. May Nibbana be attained. Nibbana is full of essence. May Nibbana be attained. Nibbana is full of essence. May Nibbana be attained. Now again, take few deep breaths and relax and relax your mind and body. And slowly open your eyes. So, if you have any questions from today's discussion, it's time for discussions and questions. I'm sorry. If there are no questions, then I think we can wind up the session since we are almost 2 hours, more than 2 hours, I think. It has passed more than 2 hours. So it's up to you, Mrs. Champika.
Therwan Saranai Swamin Wahanse. If you don't have questions, we can end the session. Anybody have a question? You are very welcome to ask. No? Okay, Swamin Wahanse. So shall we end the session for today? Therwan Saranai.
So today we practiced and we did Vipassana meditation as well as Buddhanusati, then Metta, as well as Asubha meditation for more than 1 hour, and also had a Dhamma discussion for about 1 hour. And during this time, our minds did not get into Raga, Dvesha, and Moha. And during this time, our minds were trying to understand Anicca, Dukkha, and Anatta, and trying to highlight those qualities, reflecting the reality of the world. And during this sankhara, which are kaya karma, vachi karma, and mano karma, actions, use of words and thoughts, we have created immeasurable amounts of merits. And with this meritorious power, may everyone be able to open up the eyes of wisdom, understanding the reality of the world, and may everyone be able to complete their pathways, diminishing all the hindrances, barriers, obstacles that cover up the Nibbana pathway, being able to complete the Noble Eightfold Pathway, which is the ultimate pathway to the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Accept this blessing by reciting Sadhu 3 times.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So let us transfer this meritorious power which we have gathered throughout these 2 hours to all the sentient beings in the universe, including our deceased relations, and also the ones who have helped us throughout this samsaric journey, especially our parents, teachers, people who have given us jobs, people who have shown us the correct pathway, and also the ones who constructed our houses, workplaces, and people who might have helped us in every single, maybe small, maybe in big ways. And also let us remind all the people who were hurted and harmed by us during this samsaric journey. We might have killed, hurted, stolen things from other people, have had unethical relationships, might have used harsh words, lies, slandering, and use of meaningless words, greedy, malicious thoughts, and having wrong and distorted views were our basic tools of survival when we had a lot of value for things. When the value starts to reduce, we have acknowledged our faults. We are promising ourselves that we are not going to do those kinds of wrong things again. And with that determination, we are going to transfer this meritorious power to all whom that were hurted by us as well. And also the ones who made this Dhamma discussion and meditation possible, the ones who contributed to constructing these temples, the ones who maintain these temples, and also the ones who maintain the internet connections, and then the devices that we use and everything, and ones who are behind the scene. Let us acknowledge them, and the ones who might have helped them in different ways, and also the ones, and also the gods or deities, the 6 realms of gods, and 20 planes of Brahma, and all the sentient beings in the universe as well. May they admire this Dhamma discussion and meditation by seeing the qualities of triple gems, and may they rejoice in these meritorious deeds, and may they gain immeasurable merits through that. If they are in miserable places, may they refrain from doing sins. May they replace those sinful acts with meritorious deeds, and may they lead happy and prosperous lives, ultimately understanding the reality of the world, attaining the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Transfer this meritorious power to them with metta and kindness by reciting sadhu 3 times.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu.
And we'll be ending this session with a Pali stanza which is used for blessing. Abhivadana silissa nichang madhapchayano chattaro dhamma vaddanti ayuvanno sukhambalang ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevacha atho nibbana sampatti iminate samichyatu. May everyone attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
We appreciate your support for us to develop our path and coming to support us in this session. Swamin Wahanse, we would like to show our respect and appreciation to you by reciting a verse. If anyone knows the words, please join with me. Otherwise, please listen. Silavantang gunavantang punyaketang anuttarang durlabene maya laddang vanditum pasitum varang Saripuddhadi Theranang agatam patipatya saddha sila daya vasang buddha puttang namamahang. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Everyone saranai. May everyone attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana.
Everyone saranai.
Sadhu.
Thank you very much for joining the session, everyone. Thank you.